Welcome, Alessia. So Alessia is going to tell us a little bit about your story, where you come from, what you do today. We're all like basically a big family. But please do sit in the front. It feels a bit empty. If you're in the back, come in the front. Come in the front. Tell us a little bit about what brings you here today, who you are, all that good stuff.
Is this working? Yes. So I'm Alessia. I work at Virgin Music Group as a business development manager at a label that would be like an A&R. So I guess that's what I tell everyone. So I find new artists and labels to sign and work with, potentially invest, where I think there's like a good scope for collaborations long term. I'm originally from Italy. I moved here like 8 years ago for uni. I studied music management and performance. Got my degree in the middle of COVID, which was a great time to find a job. But now we're here, so I don't lose hope. And I also manage an artist, very small, upcoming, but it's more of a passion project. And I've been doing that for about 1.5 years, and that's given me a lot of perspective on management and, just obviously I work in the indie industry, so I don't work in frontline labels, but management is always a whole different bag. I don't know if any of you do management, but hats off. It's relentless 24/7.
I think being an artist is also relentless 24/7. We have different, a lot of problems. Well, not problems, but Cool. Let's get into it. How do you sign? So we're going to pivot in 2 different ways, because we met at the Great Escape and we had a conversation, and I was like, you need to come and talk to the ladies of Amplify Her, because you're full of knowledge and it's great to know what you know, and for everybody to get more into the industry and how the industry thinks. That's kind of so we can get our music out there and be heard. So how on the we'll start with the label side. So you work at Virgin. How do you sign an artist? What are the things that you are looking for when signing or wanting to sign an artist?
I think obviously every label, every distributor, whatever it is, we all have thresholds, but I'm very lucky that I work with a team, especially my manager. He's been around the industry for like 30 years, he's very into the culture, and we have, in my team specifically, we have more of a policy of like looking for stuff that excites us, that we believe in, and that has longevity. We don't look at like the hit single, or like we're looking to like make a home for artists that want to stay independent and grow their global reach more than anything. So I often turn down, when people come asking for like a single deal or like an album deal, I'm always kind of like scratch my nose up, not because it's not a good thing, it's just because I feel like in my experience, the collaborations that have worked the best and I've been like successful is where I got to work with an artist from the very start and just give them the room to grow and give them the opportunity to like find what worked for them and just be a good support and put them in the right spaces. And so that's what I look for. I look for that longevity, that like willingness to work hard. And I just get a lot of music. I gotta like the person. I don't like walking. If I walk out of a meeting and I feel like I haven't got like good chemistry with the management team or the artists, even if I think it's a good project, I will leave it. And I think this is just trust your instincts, trust your gut. If you think someone is not giving you good feeling, it probably means that it would be really hard to work with them. Again, that's my experience. It's not like there's loads of lovely people in the industry that you can and will work with, but if you follow your instincts, because I feel like they've saved me from like a few bad situations before where I was like, oh, yeah.
What exactly, to take that meeting on, for the artist to sit down next to you and say, for you to say, I want to sign you, what do they need? Is it numbers on socials? Is it a following? Is it an idea? Is it about the music? What do they need for you to look at them?
I think it's a bit of both. Like, I'd be lying if I said like we don't look at numbers. That's not possible, and it's just because Virgin is such a huge company now that when artists are too small, they just don't benefit from having such a big backing behind because they get a bit lost. I think as an artist or as a management team, like artist support, whatever you have, like your artist team, you need to really evaluate at what stage in your career you are, and then try and find what the right fit is for you at the moment. Because I feel like even though I look personally to I want to hear the music and I want to make sure that like the artist has a vision for themselves, has a plan. It's just not looking to like, if someone comes in and it's like, oh, I'm popping on TikTok, I want to license my own music so I can get a lot of money. That's not interesting to me. That's not something that I would sign. And maybe it's like, against like business sense, but I do find that in like long term, it doesn't really work like that anyway. So yeah, I would say that there is like a minimum of like streams or like followers I try to look at, just because because of the kind of structure we have, I don't think smaller artists benefit so much from having a direct distribution deal. Also because like distributing your own music is a lot of work. You have like the day-to-day is intense. You have to schedule your releases, make a campaign, have a rollout plan, a marketing plan. There's a lot that goes into it, and I think if you have to do all of that by yourself and you don't really know what you're doing, and then you are with a big distributor or like a distributor won't give you that back end of knowledge, then that's when things get a bit lost.
What's the minimum? I gotta go there, sorry.
To be fair, like, I don't think there's a minimum, I'll be honest. Like, I don't get like notes from my boss being like, it has to be 50K or nothing. It's more like, I think different things make sense in different contexts. Yeah, I wouldn't say like I have a straight number. I work with small artists as well, absolutely. I think it's just like more than like the actual numbers or streams. I want like, have you gotten like exciting have you done exciting collaborations? Do you have a good network of artists around you? Do you like to collaborate and like with artists in the same scene? All that kind of stuff kind of goes into it for me. And it's like, do you have an active fan base rather than just like you can have 100,000 followers and then having 2 people comment on your stuff? It's like, I know you're buying followers, it's fine, you don't need to do that.
What's a direct distribution deal?
So a direct distribution deal is when an artist or a label sign a distribution deal or an agreement with a distributor. I can't really speak for all the distributors. Like obviously I've heard rumors, but I don't know how they work, what they offer. A Virgin, it means that you are signed for exclusively to us for like a certain period of time. So anything you release within that term or period goes exclusive to us. We take a small fee, but you retain all of your own rights and your royalties. Um, and we basically pitch globally your releases or all the stores, and we make sure that like you get, you know, all your best practices on how to like get more Spotify followers, or like how to, you know, maximize your releases and all this kind of stuff. So you do get like that little knowledge. And then we're not just a distributor, we do artist and label services, so for like bigger artists that need that global reach or like marketing, because it's been like a bit of a trend upwards of people leaving frontline labels and going independent successfully, and that's where like someone like Virgin would come in and kind of like work the same way a label would, but again you retain your rights, you retain your creative freedom, and so many other things that don't really happen when you're a frontline label. So it's I'd say like a direct distribution deal is just like an alternative to a label, as long as you have the infrastructure around you, or you know what you're doing. Like, because obviously, unless you're return on like services and marketing and this and that, all of that you would have to do yourself.
Do you give, is there investment from Virgin? Is it like, do you give in advance when a deal is made, or is it just kind of?
Yeah. I mean most distribution deals do have an advance. This is not part of the question, but one thing I always like to tell artists is when people come knocking and giving you a lot of money, it's great to know that people believe in you, but you have to be smart about how much money people are giving you, and consider and like be honest with yourself. As in, like, you always have to believe in yourself, don't get me wrong, but be honest with how much you can achieve in a way that it's not gonna how do I say this? An example is, if you go around 3 or 4 different distributors and 3 of them will offer you a certain amount of money, and then suddenly a 4th one offers you double that, triple that, I know it's very appealing, but consider that this money is given to you up front, and you have to live with this money until you have fully recouped your advance. The way you recoup on advance is usually that 100% of the money you make on streams goes back into your distributor or your label until you've fully paid off. So, you know, you need to have a think of whether, like, is it wise for me to take a big chunk of money now? If you think you have self-control, you know how to spend it, you know how to invest it, you know how to do it, absolutely fine, do it. If not, I always say take less money, because you can always get more money if you need it, but you don't want to be in debt, and you don't want to be stuck somewhere for 10 years where you can't move. Like, you obviously, these people don't own your masters, you still own everything, but if you can't move your music and all of your catalog is stuck somewhere for years, you have no leverage to go anywhere else and just say, oh, you know, I've got my catalog, it makes about this much a year. That's leverage you have in owning your masters.
So just a side note, on Monday we have a virtual meeting with Gina, and Gina got an actual meeting with Alicia without knowing anything about them being both part of Amplify Her, actually, in the same week. But that was a deal that was on the table, and then Gina decided for multiple reasons that was not for them at the moment. Doesn't mean that it's not going to happen, I don't know. But and that was part of, again, a contract, not with Virgin, but who introduced her to that, and then the whole deal that she was like, why am I signing this? And I was so happy, because I was like, yeah, good girl, because that contract meant so much that she owed so much money to get some money. So she was like, do you go to the bank and basically take a huge interest loan and a huge interest on your loan why would you do that? And I was like, yeah, but that's not the Virgin situation, that's just who introduced her to Virgin, so it's a different situation. But anyway, join the virtual meeting because Gina is a good person to be around, to be able to be an artist and say, no, not yet, hold on, or let's see what we could get better, or what does that mean, basically breaking it down.
No, G is great. G and her partner Jay have done everything they've done, I've done independently.
Yeah.
And they have great business sense, which is something that I don't often see in artists, so it's great for me to see, because I get a bit sad when an artist doesn't want to be involved in the decision making. Like the artist I manage, he wants to be in every room and he wants to hear every conversation, and when he doesn't understand what's going on, he asks me because he wants to learn. And he's always said to me, I don't want to be in a room and not understand when people are talking about me or my art or my money, my business. I don't want to not be able to understand. I want to be able to understand everything that's going on. And I mean, that's the best thing you can do for yourself, actually, 100%.
So going back to you being a manager, is the goal, like, where are you at as a manager for your artist? And is the goal for your artist to get a deal, a distribution deal, or what's your vision? And the artist's vision, of course.
Well, actually my artist is signed to a small independent label, and I think at the moment it's what works best for him, just because we do need that support, because I have a full-time job that is quite demanding, so I can't be running. I do run day-to-day operations, but especially with campaigns and releases, and you know, we're about to put out his debut mixtape, and it's been a labor of love for the past 2 years, in and out of the studio, this and that. All that to say, good that he has a label behind him. Small labels obviously don't have an infrastructure where they can, like, you know, throw money everywhere, But this label specifically, the guys are really nice, really knowledgeable, they know what they're doing, really supportive. So I think my vision was just like when we met, me and my artist, he had about 1,600 maybe monthly listeners, and he had just released a tape, an EP, and he just felt like it didn't hit the way it should have, because it was a really great body of work, but it just didn't hit the right audience, and it didn't reach where it should have. So our goal was to basically grow him and like get him a more stable audience. And then he just said, you know, I just have like, when we met, he was like, I have a tape ready, and I was like, oh, okay. I listened to the tape and I was like, okay, this is great. I think 2 of the tracks that were originally in the tape are now actually coming out, so you know, it's been a lot of back and forth, but he was just like, I just want to put out great music, and I want this mixtape to be like the platform launch for like an album, and I just want to set the tone for the kind of music that I want to put out, and like both conceptually and like on how I work with other artists. So he loves to collaborate. So I think my goal for him is just to give him a bit more stability and make sure that he knows he's doing a good job. And you know, because when we first met, he was just like really stressed about, he was like, am I not making good music, what's going on? And I was like, no, the music is great, it's just like you need to understand where to put it and who will listen, and that's a lot of work actually. So I think our plans are just to eventually probably sign in to a distributor rather than a frontline label. I don't think he'd do too well on a frontline label because he's a bit of a rebel. So you know, he needs to keep this like creative freedom. And he's also really smart and he can do a lot for himself. So I don't think he necessarily needs like a frontline label to come in and tell him what to do. But yeah.
When do you think an artist needs to have a manager? And is that important in the industry?
It is important. I don't think there's any. I don't think there's like a benchmark. I think everyone is different, and different artists will need different kind of supports at different levels of their careers. When I met my artist, you probably would have thought he didn't really need a manager because it was so small and he wasn't like really making an impact or anything. I think the most important thing is that you should look for a manager when you know that you've got a plan, you know what you want to do, but you don't know how to execute it, and that's when you lean on people that have the experience or like the business experience to take you where you need to be. But always, again, make sure that you follow your gut. Choosing a manager is like choosing your life partner. I feel like this is crazy, but like obviously me and my artist are very, very close. We speak every day, and it's not just work, it's not just business. Like he'll call me about anything and everything. We share a lot of life together. So you want to make sure that when you choose a manager, you choose someone that you trust, that you get along with, and like a lot of other things in life, sometimes a manager won't have the skills or like the experience, but they have the right attitude and they're willing to learn and they really believe in you. That's what maybe you should be looking out for, rather than people who have loads of experience but don't really care for you or your music or your vision.
Yeah, I work with a manager. That's when I thought, oh, now is the time I need a manager. And then, yeah, lesson learned, you know, you learn. But after that, I decided, you know what, I'll do it on my own. Unless I meet somebody that's better than me and could take me to rooms that I can't go to, then that's the moment where I'm like, okay, that's what you do. But until then, I was like, no, if I'm in a room and I'm talking to more people than my manager, I feel like after performing, I'm like, well, I'm kind of doing your job right now, but okay. So where do we go right now? The industry, and there's loads of music. You're an indie artist right now. You're putting out your tracks, which is probably, I would say, 80% of who's in the room right now. How do you get heard?
That's a tricky question, because I feel like there's a lot of work that you have to do as an artist before you even start putting out music, to make sure that it gets heard. You need to find your niche, you need to find your audience, you need to understand who you are as an artist, what you're trying to do, what kind of music you're trying to put out. I know no one likes to be compared to others, but having like a wish list of artists at different levels that you look up to or you aspire to match, like, you know, could be musically, could be success-wise, could be any kind of thing. Because you can tap into different things, right? Like an artist is not just his music. My artist, for instance, is very into fashion, and he works that angle quite a lot. That to the point where he's been invited to like British Fashion Week a few times, like London Fashion Weeks a few times. And like he's all of his music is also very visual, so we just work that angle for him because that's what works for him. And he's also a bit of like a lover boy, so like he makes music for such boys. He makes music for like he's a rapper, but he's not like a Central C kind of rapper. It's more of a, you know, romantic. I know you're just making, you know. He's been described as an R&B rapper before, but it's like that's like the work we did together in like understanding what his strengths and like what his peculiarities were. And then after that we said, right, then musically, who do you sound like that people want to listen to? Like, so someone that is normally bigger than you as an artist already established. If you think you have the same musicality, if you have the same sounds, then you would look up to how they reached that point and how you can target their existing audience. Because if you know that they're going to like the music, people love music and they're always looking for more music. If I listen to an album and I'm like, I love this, I want more. So people are always looking for more, so that's what you need, right? And then, yeah, again, we said, okay, passion is a thing. How do we like have fans connect with the fact that you're also passionate, so not only an extraordinary rapper, with this kind of stuff. So if you do all of that work, if you establish the basis of what you are as an artist, then it's easier for you to target the right audiences and put yourself into the right spaces. So that groundwork needs to be done, I think.
So should you be releasing music independently prior to that, or should you wait and then release music?
I think you can release music as long as you have a good plan. One thing that
Sorry, can I just, because we talked about the plan, what do you think is a good plan?
as in like more like a release plan, as in like if you have especially with like because there's so much music out and editors at DSPs are like absolutely overwhelmed. I've seen in the last year like the way we relate and talk to DSPs is completely different. Their job has changed a lot as well. I think what the thing I was talking about earlier about like longevity, like having a plan, having a vision, that's what editors look for in my experience, where it's like you can drop singles every 2 weeks if you want, but if you don't have a narrative behind it and you don't have consistency, like yes, you have consistency in the sense that like you drop every 2 weeks, but you don't have any like artistic consistency, or you don't have like a storytelling consistency, you don't have all of that, because people love to like hear a story, hear a concept, and like the way, I mean, you're all artists here, right? Don't you just love like going into an album, like when one of your favorite artists drops an album and they just give you this like amazing concept, start to finish, curated, like story, music, everything. That's like at the end of the day, people that work in the industry are music lovers, so that's what they're looking for. So you can absolutely just drop singles if that's what you want to do, but when you come with like a cool project and a vision behind it, then it's easier to get the attention of labels and DSPs, just because they have something to talk about and something they can look forward to.
What are mistakes that have you seen that artists have made, or maybe you were about to sign somebody and then they did something and you're like, oh no, we can't sign you?
Okay, I think like a common mistake is to like having like the urgency of like putting music out, but not having like, again, not like a good plan behind it, but you know, maybe like an artist goes into the studio and they're like, oh, the single is great, I'll put it out, and then you know, you wait 3 months and he's like, oh yeah, maybe I'll put something else out. It's just like not having that, I think,
Plan.
no, not like a plan, but like I think I've seen, yes, a plan, I guess, I don't know, it's just not having that kind of like, it's just, for me, that doesn't, in my experience, like, I'm talking for myself, I feel like it doesn't scream that like you're serious about what you're doing. If you're just like, because imagine like you're at work and you have deadlines and you have to get like this done by a certain time and you just don't get it done, and then people have to like run around you like to like fix up because you put this out and it's not okay, and then you like, you know, it's just that kind of like chaotic work where it's just like, oh, you know, I just want to put music out and I don't care. But, oh yeah, the visuals, I'll sort the visuals at some point. That's, yeah, so kind of like, I think that as not being too serious about what you do. And then, in my experience, like sometimes I've walked away because people were being a bit cagey. Or like they were being a bit like, not dodgy, but like I think when people are not being like completely truthful, or if there's always something coming up, when people are trying to rush you into something, that's when I will try and walk away. When people are like, oh, I want to be signed by, like, I need to have this signed in a month. I'm like, okay, well, that's not how it works, but so I think, yeah, just when people are not being completely truthful, or when they're rushing things, you should always ask yourself, why are we trying to like rush it, or like why are you trying to make me sign something? Always think that.
So how do you discover a new artist? How do you, you, Virgin, the team, in terms of coming onto a distribution deal, how do you find the artist?
I mean, I listen to a lot of music and I go to a lot of gigs, so a lot of stuff for me will actually be discovered in my own time, just by, scrolling through like Spotify, SoundCloud, all of that, or going to gigs. And then obviously, like, when you work in the industry, then you only have friends in the industry, so we all send each other music. And weirdly enough, music careers that have like a big roster, like, especially if they have the same music taste as you, it's great because they'll just sign you like this amazing project. It's just like, oh, I have this client, they have like a great project coming up, and you're like, okay, yeah. And then it's like, this is a networking industry. I've just had so many projects being like put on my desk by friends of friends, or like people that I've worked with previously. I feel like if you establish a good relationship with people, then you always have like a source of just like a stream of good music and good projects coming your way, for sure.
I mean, that's how you got here. Because we networked. So yeah, definitely. I think having your building a network is so important. I think sometimes artists tend to go to an open mic or perform at a showcase, and that's it. When you have to go out of the music only sphere and go to the Great Escape or go to conferences and kind of discuss, talk to different people, have meetings, see how it goes, hear what you guys want to say about the music as well, because that's very important feedback. Do you give artists feedback on music, or is it mostly on their plan, the release, the vision?
I think if it's requested, yes. I don't, obviously, like, I am a music lover, I am a singer, but I don't have like, how do you say, just like, I don't want to be like, I'm a music model and you must listen to my feedback. Obviously, music is personal, so I give feedback if I feel like it's needed and requested, but I wouldn't necessarily push my agenda onto anyone.
Do you think today's artists need to be signed, as in like any deals, or could is an artist able to bring themselves to the next level?
Definitely. I mean, there's amazing success stories. Like Brent Fires has done everything himself. Him and his manager built him from the ground up, and he's never been signed to a major label. And he's one of the, like, arguably one of the biggest artists in R&B right now. And he's not the only one. Right? So I think you can definitely do it yourself. There is a point where you will need that extra support. That doesn't mean you need a frontline label. That doesn't mean you need an indie label. That doesn't mean you need it doesn't mean you need anything specifically. What works for you will work for you. But yeah, I mean, especially if you're like, if you've done the groundwork to bring yourself to a level where you're like, okay, my next step requires a bit more support, or like, a distribution deal, a label deal, whatever it is, then you can definitely do that like groundwork by yourself, especially if you have not necessarily a manager, but like if you have like good people around you that can help you, give you a bit of advice, all of that. Like when you have a community, right? But I think there's a lot of work that goes behind, like the one artist. Like I see it day to day. There's a lot of work that goes behind one artist, one act, whatever. It will come a point where you need that extra support, but it doesn't have to work the same for everyone.
Yeah. When you becoming your role, the role that you have at Virgin, how I'm gonna change a bit turn the page, we'll say. How did you get your role? How did you get your role?
I actually started as a business or label coordinator at Virgin, so it was just like a general support role, and I just got really lucky because my boss who runs Europe at Virgin, he's a firm believer in training and growing your people. So first time we met, he said, "Oh, I just need someone to do like this job for a couple of years, but then I'd like for you to like find your true passion in the company and just move on, just do whatever you want." So I was there for I started with them, did my 2 years as a business coordinator. In the meantime, I got to work with every department for a little bit of time and just support everyone. And then I was like, oh, I really like business development. I think that's what I want to go into. And then I just like got promoted internally. But I was already doing a lot of the work of just like, finding artists or like having the conversations, all this kind of stuff before the promotion. And then it kind of just like got into full swing in the past year.
Is your job to find artists and give them a deal so that the label makes more money or like more exposure?
No,
is it what's the actual? I know we're talking about money, but ultimately we're in the business, so it is. Business.
It is a business.
Yeah,
yeah. Money is always important. Don't get me wrong. Like we all need money to live. Let's be honest. Like we don't do it for free. It would be an ideal world, but we all work for free. And we just put out banging music, and we're like, if it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, whatever. No, so I mainly work in the R&B, hip hop, rap space, even at work. I work with both labels and artists. So with artists, it's either I like to bring them to labels within the network. So labels that work with us. So for instance, we work with like Partisan, Pias, Sumerian Records, like a lot of labels in the UK. So we just, they use us as distribution pipes. So sometimes I get like really interesting projects for artists that are specifically looking for a label. So what I would do is just to like send them to the label heads where I think it would be a good fit. And hopefully they like the music, so we'll make an intro, and then hopefully like it gets to the point where they get signed. But with label, and then I look at labels that are looking for a distribution partner. So I try to work on like smaller things. I work across Europe as well. I don't work in the UK specifically. I work across Europe. We try to bring in labels that kind of like match our ethos as well, where it's like, you want to be independent, you want to put out music you like, you want to sign the artists you like, and you just need a partner to help you do that globally, rather than, because what you're doing at home. We all have our network, we all have our contacts, but then you're like, oh, how do I promote these artists in Germany? That's where like we come in.
Right, so what would you say, is there a difference between an indie distribution company and a major distribution company?
Well, yes and no, in the sense that, like, for instance, Virgin is part of Universal. Obviously, we are a completely different entity, so we have our own supply chain, both physical and digital. We have our own staff, so we're not like Universal Music staff, we are Virgin staff. So it's The only thing is that you do get the benefits of being in a major, but with the freedom of being an indie, which is quite nice.
So you get the money from the major, but the freedom of an indie.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
But it's also like, you know, DSP rates and, you know, data,
Can you just
data insights.
what are DSP rates?
DSP rates is like how much, so basically big companies or smaller companies, they will have direct deals with DSPs, such as Spotify, SoundCloud, whatever, to determine the rates that they're getting paid out to their artists. So you just like negotiate with these. And yeah.
Thank you. If you're an artist right now, what is the advice you would give to an artist right now that's starting, that's in the room? What advice you would say?
If someone is just starting out, I would say do that groundwork that I was talking about before, and maybe try to look for other artists that are at a similar level as you in the same spaces, so you have like a support network a little bit, because you need to have that feedback. And I would say, apart from doing the work on like your image and like the music, who you are, like creating that like storytelling about yourself, think about starting to learn how distribution works, even just like for yourself, right? Even if you are paying $9.99 a year, this sort, really understand what goes on in the back end, understand how you do your own releases, like how like a product changes from a single to an album, like what that entails, all that kind of stuff. Because I know it's boring, but once you have that knowledge, it's just like really, it will make your life so much easier. And then, yeah, I would say don't lock yourself into like crazy, like if someone tells you they want you for like 10 years and 15 albums, don't. Don't. It sounds appealing, but don't. See how much you can do for yourself. And then if you really feel like it comes to a point where it's just like stagnant and it's not working, then pivot, but see how much you can do for yourself, for sure.
So with your artist, as the manager, did you negotiate his deals with, because he's signed to a label, so is the label working with a different distributor? Did you negotiate that? Because you know.
Actually, funny enough, no. His label distributes for Virgin. And I just have to do like a conflict of interest comedy thingy. But I did negotiate his own contract with the label, and then I separately work with the label on Virgin, but I keep the roles separate. But yeah, I did negotiate for him with the label.
How much do you think having a good distribution company has an effect on your music being obviously listed on playlists? How much does that has an effect on it?
I think it depends on what level you're on. But I don't know, I feel like a lot of people say, oh, if you're with a bigger, more renowned distribution company, you're more likely to get editorial, whatever. That might be true in the sense that obviously we speak to DSPs every week, so obviously we'll just tell them, oh, this project is coming up, or like this and that. So obviously you have the ears, like if you're a Virgin, you know that like there's ears listening to your stuff because we push it forward. But I don't know, I feel like it's I don't feel like anyone like actually goes in and is like, oh, you've done like See Baby, absolutely not. You're not getting an editorial playlist, that sort of thing. I think if the music is good, it works anyway. But obviously, it's a bit harder to push because you don't have that direct contact.
You talked prior to that. You talked about obviously smaller distribution companies, which is where indie artists go today to put the music on Spotify, etc., etc. And you talked about the knowledge they should have. Is there anything that you think they should be learning or look into specifically?
The artist.
Yeah, like when putting your music through a distributor, is there anything, because you're like you were saying study between, it's a single, it's an album. What exactly, is there any specific that you would look at for, during those smaller distribution companies?
I think first of all, you should know what rates are good rates, and like when people, like essentially if they give you a contract and they're taking the piss, you should know. And that's what, like, obviously I can't disclose fees because they're NDA, but but it's always good to know, like speak to your artist friends to see what they're getting offered, or if you like this, like for musicians union, speak to people on musicians union. If you're not sure that you're getting a good deal, make sure that you talk to people. So you want to know that you're not, you want to know that you're not taking the piss and you're not like getting your money taken away. And then you just want to make sure that these are people that, especially with smaller distribution companies, you're not looking. If you're with like just starting out, you're a smaller distribution company, you're probably not looking to like expand outside of your home territory just yet. So maybe what you're looking for is like making sure that the people that work there have the right contacts, they know what they're doing. Because even if you're a smaller artist, it's still your right to go in and say, I really need a PR, or like I need this and that. You want to make sure these people have the network, the contacts. You want to make sure that they're knowledgeable about, about what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Would you use? Okay. Is it me, or did you hear a low?
Yeah.
Somebody's joining us. Do you use? So most of us, just have music. Most artists, and then I'll pivot to the music industry side. But most artists think, I want my music out. I'm gonna go through Dito. I'm gonna go through DistroKid. I'm gonna go. And obviously, it's your first time. Do you think before you release your music, you should get in touch with the distribution company, or should you just do it, see how it goes, and then get in touch? Is it important? Do you think it's important to get in touch with the distribution company?
No, I think just do it. Obviously, and then everyone is so busy. I wouldn't be surprised if your email doesn't get picked up for weeks. I think just do it, especially because when you're paying a flat fee for a service, if someone offers you a contract, then it's a different bag, where it's if they're can we lock you in for 3 years and do this and that, that's a contract, that's a business decision, it's a bit different. If you're just paying your $9.99 a year to put out 50 tracks, just go ahead and do it, because there's nothing you can do wrong there, not really, and it's valuable catalogue that you have, and it's yours.
Cool. So going back into the music industry side, if you are starting in the industry and would like a job in the music industry, any tips, tricks, advice?
The way I did it, I felt, because I was looking for a job in the worst possible time ever during COVID. I felt like I had to pivot. I felt like there was so much going on, and there was so many people looking for jobs, and realistically, no one is that special, and it's really sad to say, but even now I feel like I have friends that I think are really great, and they just can't find a job. But then it's always like, oh, can you introduce me to this person and introduce me to that person? So obviously, like having a network, knowing people that can put you in the right room is great. But if you don't have that, what I did is I worked like admin roles, support roles. So I tried to develop transferable skills that would be applicable to any creative industry. So I worked like as like an executive assistant, as a front of house. I just did like a lot of like admin work and like support roles work in like design, mainly in design actually. And it wasn't my dream job, but obviously I was like, oh, I think if I can do this and I nail like the transferable skills and everything, then I can move that into the music industry. And that's actually like what happened, because it got to the point where I'm now at Virgin, they were looking for someone that had that like admin skills and like executive support calendar skills, and that's how I got in. And it wasn't like anything special, but I think you have to think a bit outside the box sometimes if you don't have that way in.
Yeah, I think also there's a thing about being an artist, and you should only be an artist and that's it. But I think that's very an old mindset, because nowadays you have to do so many different things. Even if you're just an artist, you're still doing a lot of things, but just having the knowledge of all the things gives you so much power and pushes you to a place where you can then sit in front of a contract and be like, no thank you, which is where you want to be, or give me more, or whatever the outcome is. But you are at a moment where you're empowered. That's the key, really. That's how we started our conversation over there. We said our partners should empower you. There's a song right there somewhere. Yeah, cool. I think, thank you for sharing that. I think this is very knowledgeable to know that, you know, all the things, the small things that you're doing while you're on your way have importance, are important. It's not just, you know, I'm not a singer full-time, or I'm not a songwriter or music manager full-time, so it doesn't matter. That's not true. It actually matters. Cool. I think we're going to open the floor for a few questions. Anybody has any questions? Did I ask all the questions? No questions? No? Okay, I can keep talking if you want. I think we went over everything in a very, actually fast time. Thank you so much. One more question, and that's in terms of women in the music industry. How do you see yourself in your environment, and what brings you in a platform where we are about promoting women in the music industry?
I'm very lucky, because where I work and everyone I've worked with in the past couple of years has been a great champion of women in the industry, and they've always pushed me forward and put me in the right rooms. I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for my mentor and one of my managers, who's actually heading up the department for the whole of Europe, so she's like big boss. But if she didn't believe in me and push me forward, she just constantly pushed me forward, gave me great advice. I wouldn't be where I am now. I am very young to be where I am, in the position I am, with the freedom that I have to just sign whoever I want. And I just wouldn't be where I am if I didn't have my network of women. And I really do believe in getting into a room, and there was a time where I didn't have the voice or the power to be able to uplift myself, and other women did it for me. And that's definitely, I feel like now I'm getting more into a space where I'm I have the freedom to be like, oh, you know, she was talking, or I want to hear that. And it's someone did it for me, and I want to do it for other people. And I mean, it's great to have a network, and I've always had even in your in my personal life, my female friends are the closest relationship I have, and no one uplifts me like they do. So yeah, I just want to be a good member of the community.
Yeah, we'll clap on that. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you had fun. I was sorry, I'm like, go.
I love listening to the sound of my own voice.
It's not as easy as it seemed to be in the spotlight.
Literally the spotlight.
Yeah.
I can see a little bit of you, but not like really a lot of it. So I'm just like speaking to a dog group, which is a bit nicer than actually having to look at everyone in the face.
Yeah. If there's anybody has any questions, please do feel free to ask. Yeah, go for it.
You mentioned earlier about the importance of like an artist collaborating with others. I just wondered what you would say is something important to look for when you're going for a collaboration. Like, do you focus on really having a strong genre crossover, or is it about like a similar size audience, or like what are the metrics that you would kind of look at?
I think you need to look at different things. So you should always have a wish list of people you want to collaborate with, whether it's people at your same level or just like I feel like there's a lot of artists that only work with like one producer, and like you're closing yourself off to like so many different sounds. So like producers, other singers, songwriters, or like whoever you can, because music is a collaborative art, and some of the best music I've ever heard was just like people chipping in and out and just like doing all things. So I think depending on what you want to do, first of all, like in the genre that you work with, you should create like a strong network of like, you should know the people that work in the same genre as you, that kind of like people that you could like cross-pollinate audiences with, all that kind of stuff. Maybe not like, and then moving away from genre, if you feel like there's stuff that you like, music that you want to collaborate with like for the different genres, like something you want to jump into, you should definitely do that. But I think it's a mix of things depending on what you're actually looking to do. Like, for instance, I feel like my artist had, he already has like a very strong relationship with his producer, like the best friends, and they make great music. But my thing was like, why don't you like go out and collaborate with other producers that have worked with like some of your friends? You love the music, why don't you just go and check it out? And then he's made some amazing tracks, and that doesn't really push him into a new audience or like does anything for his like for his growth or whatever you want. But I think musically it did a lot for his growth. It just brought out sounds that I've never heard before, and I was like, oh my god, what is this? I love it. And then having just like collaborating with people is a good way of creating those relationships as well. 100%.
Yeah, I'll just add on to that. Vocally, working with different producers could bring you to the next step, because vocally they can also like bring you to a place where you're like, oh, I didn't know I could do. Like, it's just different experiences. So yeah, I completely agree with that. I think it should be an exchange though. I think some people you collaborate because maybe they can bring you to the next step. You like them and you're like, oh great, I'm learning. And some people you collaborate because you're like, oh, we're just having fun. You never know what could happen. It's just kind of open. Yeah. Any other question? Yeah?
Yeah, I have a question about, you mentioned that when you were, before your role at Virgin, you did a lot of like admin, maybe coordinating roles to get the transferable skills. I was wondering that if, when you were doing all those roles, did you apply to like Virgin? Was there an opening position, or did you just know someone? Because
no, it was an open position, and I applied, and I think I don't know if any of you ever applied for a job at Universal, but they have this platform called Workday, where every time you apply to like a role, it just kind of like stays in your profile. And I think I applied for about 45 roles and just and never even got an interview. And I don't know, I think it just was right place, right time, because I applied for so many internships, so many entry-level roles, and nothing ever worked out. And then I applied for this role, and I was like, I'm gonna have a little fight, but they never called me back. And then they did. And it was like after a month as well that I sent my CV, so it was like, oh, they probably like forgotten or like whatever. But yeah, it was just like very random, right place, right time. Yeah, no incredible story of like, I've met this guy.
No, but actually it's good because it proves that it actually happens if you if
No,
you
it does
keep
happen.
doing it. Yeah.
You have to have patience and you have to understand that like anything else, there's like right place, right time, and I know it can get a little bit discomforting sometimes. I have times where I was like, obviously I finished uni in 2020 and like I got this job in like end of 2022, beginning of 2023, so it's like it's not even been that long since I had this job. But I was starting to lose heart. It gets to that point where like, and I see with artists as well, they're just like, oh, I've been putting music out consistently for years and like it's not getting to where I want it. It's okay to have stagnant moments in your career, whether you're an artist, whether you want to be in the music business. If you're doing the work consistently, something will happen at the right time. And also success looks different for everyone. So not only be realistic about what you can achieve, but also like know what you want to achieve. Like not everyone wants to be Beyonce. Some people are just very happy, like Gina, for instance. She's just very happy putting out her own music, like touring in Europe a little bit. But she was even telling me like, I don't care about being like a superstar. I just want to put out good music, be happy, have enough money to have a good life, and that's what I want. That's what success looks like to me. And you should really evaluate what success looks like to you before you like launch into different avenues and try to make something happen.
Thanks so much. I was just thinking of two things. One was I set up a record label for our DJ Academy. We did a deal through Labelworks and it was an accelerator deal, so it was like a couple of £100 a month to distribute. But we literally made 75p in 6 months on 2 records. And I wondered if that is because the nature, I mean this is obviously a bit abstract, but is that because of the deal that particular DSP would have done to retrieve the monies from all the DSPs, or is it because, I mean, the music's really great. That's my preference, but
Yeah.
you know
Well,
what I mean?
what are the streams looking like?
Yeah, I don't. Well, they're in their thousands.
Okay.
It's not in the millions.
Well, the thing is like, no artist that is not like a huge superstar level only lives on streams.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think it could be a combination of both. It could be that is it Labelworks? I'm trying to think what Labelworks sits, but I think they have their own direct deals with DSPs. They won't disclose the rates to you, but you can always kind of like look at your statements and get like a sense of where it sits. It could be a combination of things. It could be that like, the rates of DSPs are not the greatest, and then I don't know, like
It's a bit more specific. Yeah.
I'm happy to have a look.
Bless you. Thanks, mate. Thanks so much.
Other question? Yeah, Emily?
So you both talked earlier a little bit about networking events, obviously how you met at the Great Escape, and how like artists shouldn't only be in like artist-only spaces. I just wondered if you had kind of recommendations of like specific like networking events or opportunities that are good to be a part of, or like how you find out about those? Or I know that's really broad, but I just wondered any extra insight.
I think trying to think all the networking things I do now for work, like
I mean, anything I come across, I always send it to the newsletter. It's always on the site. I always say, but this is also events that I know that are good. So I've been to them and I'm like, okay, you'll meet somebody. I don't know everybody that's there, but I know that you might get something out of it.
Signing up to newsletters.
Yeah, I think
following, like, if you like follow on social media, like labels that you like or organizations that you like. Have a look at what like Musician Studios is putting up, and then they have like interesting events. So like having that knowledge of like what actually already exists as organizations and labels and stuff like that is vital. And then after you have that knowledge of like, oh, this exists, and then they'll put out events, I think that's a good way of going about it.
Also, The Great Escape is, although I have my things with them, but it's a good way to meet other people. But again, she's right, you have to go. This is what we're working on with Amplify Her, is also building the bridge between the artist and the industry, because sometimes as an artist, when you go into those rooms, they're like, yeah, but you're, depending on the people, but some of them are like, well, you're an artist, I shouldn't be talking to you, I should be talking to your management or manager, and you're like, well, I don't have a manager, but this is me. There is a bit of that, still is changing though.
I'm guilty of that.
Yeah.
It's just because in my experience, not a lot of artists know what they're talking about, and it's not their fault, but I also can see like the difference between the artists that are willing to learn and make that business side for themselves and the ones that are just like, oh, you know, I'm just like, I make great music, sign me. And it's like, okay, well, there's a lot of great music out there. And yeah, so it's, yeah.
So that's interesting, because that's like a protection thing, sort of like, well, yeah, I want to talk to the people that are gonna, you know, also understand what I'm doing and move together, versus I'm working for you. And
I've also had like not bad experiences, but like sometimes I work directly with artists just because the music was good, and you know, I just thought it was worth doing deal, whatever. And then they turned out to be a nightmare to deal with from the day to day. And it's like, it's not their fault. It's especially like this guy specifically. He was just like, he was so erratic, and he was just like, it was just so hard to get anything done. And yeah, so it's like sometimes I'm a bit wary of working directly with artists if they don't have a manager or whatever. And then on the other side, I work with amazing artists that are just really great, they know what they're doing, but most of them have taught themselves a little bit of basics on how to like negotiate, what they're talking about, how to run their own campaigns, and all of that kind of stuff. So they fill different roles, they're not just the artists.
Yeah, I do feel like, yeah, you do have to know about the industry, and you do have to, it's that common ground. What are you going to talk about? You can't talk about the fact that you had a great melody on the keyboard to somebody who's looking at stats on Spotify and be like, well, you're like, so I do think it comes from both sides. I do think there is a common ground, and I do understand where you're coming from. It's like a mix. But keep going to the events also make you more and more able to have those conversations, because at some point you'll be like, okay, well now I can. And also being curious about how does this work? How does that work? How do you do your job? This is the number one question I ask most people in the industry. I'm like, what is your job every day? How does it work? You know, because then you learn and you're like, oh, cool. Also, how do you see things? Not from only the artist perspective, but how do you see things you know, is it money? Is it artists? And then the other thing I think is, it's a network, it's a big industry, but it's a small industry, and everything matters. So like, my thing is, we work with a lot of artists, we do showcases. I can guarantee you that from all the artists we work with, I would say by now it's, I don't know, 50 to 100, I would say 5 to 10% I would work back with them. Why? Because they don't promote the show. I have to keep texting. Did you promote the show? Can you bring people to... All this stuff makes that if I'm in front of Alicia and she's like, do you have artists? I'm like, maybe this person, or yes, you need to talk to that person. She's good to go. Like, this is the network. This is what, you know, it takes, everything matters. So yeah. Any other question? Yes?
Hi, I'm an indie Americana artist, and I've noticed that every time when I go to a networking event, it's always people from pop or rock or a different genre. So I'm trying to go more to events that are more like Americana or country. Do you think it's still useful for me to go to events that are outside of my genre?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You shouldn't. You should go to anything and everything you can. Especially because when you're in a genre that is like not a dominant genre in the home territory you're in, you need to create a network that will support your art, because you don't really have a space for it just yet. But yeah, I would say never skip events.
Yeah.
It's tiring. I know networking is a lot, and you just have to be like on all the time, and that's working. Like a lot of my work is networking, and it just takes it out of me. I leave a room and I'm complete dead. My social batteries, I need 2 days to recharge. But I would say like that's part of the grinding, so you have to do it.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Any other question? No? We're good? Okay, thank you so much for coming, ladies. I think Alicia will stick around, so if you want to talk to her a bit. Yeah, have a great day. Cheers.